The time being 7 PM, all members of the planning board being present, call this meeting to order. First item, actually, I'll let anybody know in the audience, if you're here for agenda item G, which is 1563 Andover Street, the applicant has requested to continue to our 6/17 meeting. And if you're here for agenda item H, that applicant has requested the withdrawal without prejudice of their petition, so nothing will be done on that either. So if you're here for either of those, you are free to leave and you will miss nothing. Moving on to agenda item A, approval of minutes, March 25th, 2024.
Mr. Chairman, those were intended to be completed on time, and they were
yep,
not, so we will not have them for this meeting.
All right, so we will skip approval of minutes and move to agenda item B1, which is committee reports. Any committee reports any of the members wish to make at this time?
I'd just like to mention, Mr. Chairman, that I'll be attending the At Home and Greater Lowell Strategy Summit meeting tomorrow night with, as part of NEMCOG, and I should be able to report something back at our next meeting.
All right, very good. Moving on to agenda item B2, town planners report. Slaughter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For our next scheduled meeting on June 17th, there are no new scheduled public hearings, so we'll just be handling continued business from this meeting. And a reminder that the Tewksbury Community Market restarts this week on Thursday, June 6th, from 4 to 7 p.m. Down at Livingston Street behind the Rec Center. We have over 30 vendors scheduled for each week, and we hope that some of you folks will come and join us for that. Next item of note, we have managed to hire a new conservation agent for the Community Development Office. Her name is Abigail. Her first day was today, so please be sure to give her a warm welcome if you see her out in the community. And last item of note, the former Woodhaven building renovations are well underway. This board is familiar with the project as you folks allowed the special permit at the end of September 2022. And I've included a rendering of the proposed signage for the rebranding for the board's information. They are proposing the name The Willows, and this name was routed through the town's 911 group to ensure that there are no naming convention conflicts. This group includes both police and fire chiefs, our chief assessor, and our RECC head person, Kevin Lassard. So it's run through all the proper emergency outlets, and nobody detected an issue. So they're still targeting this fall for opening, but that remains to be seen with continued supply chain issues of electrical equipment. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to agenda item B3, which is sidewalk fund discussion.
I can provide a little background on this as well, Mr. Chairman. So probably a little over a year and a half ago at this point, I had discussed very generally with the board whether they would be open to allowing the DPW to propose the use for some of these sidewalk funds that we've collected fee in lieu of, constructing sidewalks throughout different projects. And at the time, they didn't have a project in mind, but we now have a project in mind. The town engineer prepared a letter for you folks. They are working on about 1,000 linear feet of existing deteriorated sidewalks on Pleasant Street between the Center Elementary School and Town Hall, and the reconstruction of approximately 1,800 linear feet of existing deteriorated sidewalks on Chandler Street between the State Hospital and the library driveway entrance and East Street, and construction of approximately 100 linear feet of new sidewalk on Pleasant near Pillsbury Avenue to allow for the installation of a new crosswalk. And right now, the way they have that project budgeted out, it does take a considerable amount of Chapter 90 funds, which, as you know, authorizes the town to use those funds for not only sidewalks, but roadway repairs and other general infrastructure repairs. So the town engineer has requested the planning board's sidewalk fund to use for this project to free up some of the Chapter 90 money to be able to be used elsewhere in town. So that's the request on the table, and I'm happy to field questions.
All right, so if you have any questions?
I do, Mr. Chairman. So these two sites are two new sites that we're adding to our list of, because they weren't on the list of the master plan sites, right?
So these are reconstruction of existing sidewalks. So the ones that run out here from Town Hall to the Center Elementary School, I've walked them myself. They're pretty much non-existent. They are under sand and dirt. So the idea is to put proper sidewalks there now. And then similar condition ones between the library, State Hospital driveway and East Street leading up to the senior center, where we already have those new sidewalks on East Street and that couple of years new pedestrian signal intersection.
Yeah.
And the new 100 linear feet will be between, on Pleasant Street between Pillsbury Ave to allow for more crosswalks, so there's more opportunities to get across the street on Pleasant Street.
Okay, good, thank you.
Anybody else? Nope. Do you need?
Just an up-down vote to authorize the DPW to utilize these funds for those projects.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to allow the DPW to utilize the funds for the projects mentioned.
Okay.
Second.
All right, motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item C, 91 Pike Street, Family Suite Special Permit. Do I have a motion to waive the public reading?
So moved.
Motion made, made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Do we have anyone here for 91 Pike Street?
Yes, I am.
You guys want to come on up?
My sister.
Want to pull those microphones towards you so we can hear you?
We're kind of
And
small.
then once you're settled, just give your names for the record.
Sure. Lynn Taylor.
Joyce O'Connor.
Okay, and then just a little what you're doing and,
I'd like to turn the second floor of my house into an in-law apartment for my sister to come live with me because my husband passed away on November 22nd, and I'm finding it hard to keep my mortgage paid.
okay,
So I really could use the help.
all right. We'll start with Mr. Patelia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So how many square feet is involved in this application?
570, I think it is.
Upstairs.
Yeah,
Just
it's
for
the
the record?
second floor, yeah.
Okay.
There'll be nothing will be disturbed from the outside. It'll still all be the
Okay.
same.
Yeah. And you attached to sewer?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yep.
So did I see the house for sale?
Not yet.
Not yet, no, not yet, no.
Okay. Is it coming or?
It's going
It
to
will
event, if I can't get this taken care of, yeah.
Okay. So I was reading it, you couldn't get it sooner, or why was that?
What was that?
We came as soon as we realized that I needed help.
Okay. I thought that somewhere in the application you were trying to get it done at an earlier time, but it never was allowed?
We just came the beginning of May and submitted the application the beginning of May, and we were able to make it for this date.
Okay,
So we didn't come before May.
okay.
Her husband just passed within 6 months,
I'm all in favor of a family suite and you moving in and helping out.
Thank
It's
you.
awesome. It's what I like to see happening, but so with that, I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Duffy?
Yeah, what's the plan? Are you going to finish the basement, the lower level of the
No,
split?
The
No.
first floor will stay the
It's
way
all
it
kind of
is.
already
Yeah.
there?
Yeah,
That stuff?
and the second
So it's all
floor,
set for you to move in?
The front foyer just opens to will open to the, upstairs foyer will open to the downstairs foyer, the
Got it.
plan.
so
Understood.
there'll be two egresses. And
That being said, I'm fully in favor, Mr. Chairman, and very sorry about your husband.
Thank you.
Mr. Luzzati?
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss. and
Thank you.
No further questions.
Champa?
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Chair's all set as well. Open up to the public. Anyone in the audience with any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, bring it back to the board. What is the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to close public hearing?
A motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. As to the family suite special permit.
Make a motion to approve the family suite special permit at 91 Pike Street.
I have a motion made, do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love my
All right,
house.
that brings us to agenda item D. It's 11 Parker Ave, family suite special permit. I have a motion to waive the public reading.
So moved.
A motion made, do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Do we have anyone here for 11 Parker Ave? Once you're settled, your names for the record.
Good evening. My name is Paul O'Keefe. I'm the general contractor on the job.
My name is Jessica Maranta.
All right. Just let us know what you're doing.
We're proposing to build a 992 square foot in-law suite with a 26 by 30 attached garage on the site of 11 Parker. Jessica is married to Arlie over here. They plan to have Jessica's parents move in with them. Her parents' names are Alexander and Jay Lee. They reside at 4 Cayuga Road. They've lived there since 1978, 46 years. Her dad has some health issues now, making it hard for the mother to care for him, and this will make it easier for for her to care for the husband and her father. Jessica also went to through the local school system, graduated from the high schools, lived here her whole life.
All right, very good. I'll just go in the same order. Mr. Fratelli?
So I've seen the plans look great, and with that, I have no questions, I'm all set.
Mr. Duffy?
Same here, yeah. The only thing I do want to mention, Paul, what we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
is there is a proximity to some power lines. I want you to ask your workers, like especially when they're putting up pump jack poles and that type of thing, to be very careful on that left side of the construction, you know?
Will do.
I want everybody to get home safely.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lazardi?
No questions.
Mr. Champa?
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Chair is all set as well. Anyone in the audience have any questions, comments, or concerns on this one? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to close the public hearing?
Motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. As to the family suite special permit.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the family suite at 11 Parker Ave.
I have a motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Brings us to agenda item E, 792 Main Street, site plan review, land disturbance permit, and signed special permit. Do I have a motion to waive the public reading?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Do we have somebody here for 792?
It appears my tripod, I got a new one, it's broken. This happened to me at Concom, I brought a different one.
Good evening, my name's Bridget Souza. I work for Keach Nordstrom Associates. We're the engineer who's working on behalf of the property owner. So the proposed project is to construct a building addition at 792 Main Street. It's the Napa Auto Store property right up the street here at 792 Main Street. So the site is developed, the existing building is approximately 8,880 square feet. We're proposing an 8,480 square feet building addition. The addition would be constructed on an existing foundation that was constructed in '98. That was on an approved plan from Planning Board in 1994. We went to the Conservation Commission for an RDA, received a negative determination for some questionable wet areas on the property, one being a detention basin that was constructed during the process of the foundation construction, and also a wet area along the old railroad bed. Behind the property, there's a wet, low-lying area that just collects water. So we got a negative determination from the conservation saying that there is no wetlands or resource areas on the property or adjacent to the property. So the proposed project, like I said, will utilize that existing foundation. We are proposing to construct 30 parking spaces that will meet the minimum requirement for the proposed uses and the existing uses. Site improvements include landscaping, needed signage, stormwater improvements, new utility connections that will come off of Old Boston Road, and other site amenities as required. Let me just go through this. So the property the new building addition will have anywhere from 3 to potentially 6 units. Just depends, no units have been hammered out or anything like that, so it just depends on what the business is looking for, scale size. It would just be retail, commercial use, no food use or anything like that. We have prepared stormwater report that was reviewed. We got review comments back from Beta on Friday, and we have not had a chance to review any plans or anything like that, but wanted to come in front of you, discuss any concerns about the project. We do have a waiver request as well. I have a lot of paperwork here, sorry, guys. There it is. So there are two waiver requests. One is from section 6.1.10.a, non-residential driveway requirements. We're seeking this because we're proposing to utilize the existing second curb cut that's on the property. So prior to the approval in 94, the property was actually two different parcels. And with the 94 approval, they were combined into one single parcel. So there's an existing curb cut that was never utilized. The 94 plan utilized that as a two-way entrance, and the entrance that exists today was designed as a 24-foot wide entrance, one way in, one way out, but it's much wider than that. It's approximately, I'd say 35 feet roughly. So the second entrance driveway would actually not be an entrance, it would be an exit only, just to improve circulation on the property. The second waiver request would be from section 6.1.11.c, requirements from non-residential parking facilities. We are proposing parking within 20 feet of the right-of-way. This was additionally also on the 94 plan, and it's not uncommon from what exists on Main Street anyways for retail commercial properties with parking along that front property line. So with that, we also submitted a sign package, and we also submitted a land disturbance permit application, just because the amount of land we are disturbing meets that threshold. With that, I'd like to answer any questions if anybody has any.
All right, very good. We'll start with Mr. Champa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you have a sizable application package here, a lot of
Yes.
paperwork, like you said.
Yep.
So I'm not going to drag through all of it because I know you, as you said, you haven't had time to review Beta's comments. So, so once those comments get addressed, that may resolve a number of my concerns. So the site seems to be a little bit challenging here with your lane widths, the fire truck auto turn radii, and so forth. So one of my fundamental questions, I guess, is 1998, lots happened since then. I moved to town, I think, in 95, and I can assure you that it is a very different town. So what I'm wondering is if the foundation that was permitted and built back then would have been approved per today's zoning and requirements and all that, because it seems like, there's issues, you're tight on parking, you're tight on lane widths. It looks like there might have to be some rearrangement of the ADA spaces for parking and so forth. And then adding the extra curb cut back in. So one of the things I wanted to know is why choose to keep the foundation as is instead of maybe cutting it back a little bit? I know you lose a little bit of rentable area, but it could really open up the site and alleviate some of the problems. Maybe add another row of parking, or maybe give you some room to pull that parking away from the street.
I think because of the potential for businesses to come in. Also, in order to expand for the existing businesses there, Napa's been looking to obtain some more square footage for a while now from the property owner, as well as custom, I believe. And then there's the added foundation cost, removing that and then installing a brand-new one when the integrity of that one seems to be in good condition and quite usable. So that was the owner's approach with this proposal.
Okay. So I'm going to just zero in on two main concerns then, and I'll let my colleagues and the peer review do the rest for me. So I noticed in your comments here, and also you just made note of it when you were reading your waiver letter, that the parking close to Main Street is with less than 20-foot buffer, and you listed that was consistent with other properties in that area. I don't know when those other properties were permitted or renovated. I believe, again, having come here in 95 myself, most of them, if not all of them, have been in that condition since that time, which means that if any of them were to be rebuilt, renovated, or anything like that, we would then be asking them to comply with the current bylaw. That's how you improve the town, that's how you direct planning and so forth. So that is something that I'm not currently in favor of, basically because just because it hasn't been updated somewhere else or is existing somewhere else, what we're looking to do is improve that whole area, which is why we passed the revised zoning in the first place. So I'd like you to take a look and see if there's anything you can do to alleviate that particular setback condition. The second thing is on your signage. You have a nice pylon sign going out in the front. So I know that there's an issue as far as a store is only allowed to have one facade sign unless it's an actual corner lot, which this is not. So what I would say is you have two stores or two areas where you're looking to have two signs, one on the front facing side and one on the entrance side, which is on the actual side of the building. You have signage in front, so to my mind, you should only need one or the other as far as the other signs.
Okay.
And where the other side, the back side of the building is exit only, it would be kind of hard to like drive past it and miss it, because if you haven't found it as you drove around the other 80% of the building, it's got to be the last one.
Yep.
So, and I'll end it there for today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Duffy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Mr. Champa's comment there, I did go by the property and take a look at the foundation, and, not that I'm an expert, but it looked to be in pretty good condition. It had anchor bolts, it had, that were seemed to be in good shape, and, there were signs of reinforcing bar, and so on and so forth. But I mean, that's probably a determination that building department would, or he may require an engineer to take a peek at it or whatever, but that seems like a little bit out of our, field of expertise here, certainly that area behind it is just an overgrown mess, really, that would really be quite a substantial improvement to have that area kind of cleaned up a little bit. I do agree with Mr. Champa that as far as the parking, close to Main Street like that, that's something that I think we'll all have to be thinking about, maybe having a future discussion about. Is there any idea, do you think that Napa and your other tenant are going to expand into that?
Yeah, so like I said,
Or do you have other tenants in mind? I know you said.
and he does have other tenants in mind. The back corner, so I'm just going to hold this up. So this back corner would be maybe a potential area that Custom would take a look at adding back here. And then Napa wants to expand towards the front, take up this whole area. And then my understanding is potentially more, but it depends on what businesses are looking for space.
So that little L shape, is that the way the foundation is now?
It is, yep,
Oh, it is, okay.
Yes.
So the foundation right now wraps around the building?
it does.
I see, okay.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I don't have a major problem with the waiver on that, but, it's something maybe, I don't know what the alternative would be other than eliminating parking spaces. It does seem like in the back of the lot, it's a little tight on the back right-hand corner, but then it opens way up towards Old Boston Road, and there's tons of space between Old Boston Road and where any kind of construction or anything is going to be, so. I don't know how much though, because there's no dimensions really on any of the plans that I was able to locate as far as dimensions to the lot line from the work area and so forth.
Yep, so the back driveway where it's parallel to the property line is
Yeah.
approximately 4 feet. And then as it comes around the side of the building, it opens up more.
Okay. So there is kind of a question on a buffer requirement as well, right, between Old Boston Road and the property, obviously with a 4-foot, well, I guess there must be, I don't know what that other distance is, many, many feet. It's got to be 30 feet from where I estimated your lot line is to Old Boston Road, to the side of the road.
Yeah.
And then it only gets bigger from there. So
That's correct. And I can
that
add
would need a little
dimensions.
bit of clarification on if that buffer waiver is going to be, if you're going to be looking for that. 'Cause
Okay.
basically, you're not looking for a waiver for the whole length of the back of the property. You're looking for a waiver for, maybe the right 40, 50 feet-ish.
I mean, that would be under interpretation of, if you look at the zoning map, unfortunately, that zoning line is right along the back property line of all those properties. So technically speaking, the whole railroad bed is within the residential zone.
So that growth that's in between the paved road and your property line wouldn't be considered?
Right, so we need a buffer anyways, yeah, waiver. I mean, and the way the property is laid out already, without even any of the improvements, we do not have that buffer, because on the eastern side of the property anyways.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. So that property line is kind of a straight line, whereas Boston Road sort of takes off.
Correct.
Sort of an angle there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What year was that building built, do you know? The original building?
I am not sure. Probably 91?
91, okay. Okay. Again, I have no major problems with it. I think it's a beautiful-looking development potentially there, and, the parking, well, I guess we can discuss it at some point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Lazardi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I kind of agree with the sentiment. It's a much nicer looking development than what present conditions. Just a couple of things from my side. So on the sign, what's the relative size of the proposed sign versus the existing sign that's there now?
So the existing sign is wider than what we would be proposing. It's approximately 15 to 20 feet wide in and of itself. And because we're trying to meet that required setback from the property line of 15 feet, and then with the drive aisle, we're limited. So we're only proposing an 8-foot wide sign, but it would then need to be a little bit taller in order to incorporate any potential businesses that are looking for promotion.
Okay. So less wide, but taller.
But a little taller, yeah.
And then I think my other question here regarding the second curb cut, kind of up at the top of the plan,
Yep.
is that, I was trying to take a look at it on Google Street Maps, is that the one that's kind of up near the telephone pole?
It is, yes.
Okay,
Yep. So the existing curb cut is approximately 16 and a half, 17 feet wide. So we held that edge closest to the property line just to pull that away from that utility pole.
Okay. And I do get that it's a technically existing curb cut, but just kind of looking at it right now, like literally just a curb cut and then, into a field. If we're tight on some of the parking requirements or potentially snow storage, which I think was one of the comments from Beta, could we potentially lose that top exit to make room for that?
Potentially, yes. When I looked at turning motions within the property. There's no reason why a fire truck or a small box truck, which was what we would be expecting for delivery size, could make these movements throughout the site. It was, like I said, proposed just for, better circulation on the property, but we would understand if the board decided that they wouldn't like to see that.
All right, I think that's all of my questions for now.
Mr. Vitale?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's nice to see businesses improving their properties and making them better, which is, and your renderings were nice as far as, what you showed us. So that's good to see. I know we have a lot of open questions that I won't expand on now. We'll get the answers from everybody in the next meeting or meetings, whatever. So I did see the sign, but I think you might want to add the number 792 to the sign. We request that from new signages so people driving by can find the number easily. So if you can add that into your signage plans, that would help. So with that, I'm all set right now because we have so many open questions, but my colleagues covered a lot of that stuff. So all set. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So, for a second, I forgot when I was first looking at it, when Mr. Lazardi had commented on how much it looks nicer, I was thinking, well, the old building isn't being touched, but because of the L, it actually shields the old building by coming around the front, so actually it will look nicer because of that piece coming across in front. You'll lose the sight line.
Additionally, the owner is interested in just fixing up the facade of what's out there existing. So they would carry that facade along the face of the building.
All right, well, that's even.
As seen in
but
the
I mean, that's-
rendering.
That's something they may do, but this does that, part of that anyway, so that's.
Yep.
I think, at least in terms of the other driveway, I'm kind of either way on that, so I mean, I'm fine with whatever the rest of the board is. I would say, though, that if it does stay, that there might be some sense in making it right turn only, if it stays. That way, there's much less chance of it bumping into someone who's using the other one to come out and take a right. Now, you're trying to take a left, plus you've got something across the street, you've got the other street across the street, right in the middle of the two, for people coming out. It seems like a lot going on. A right turn could alleviate some of the cars and get them going, up 38. So if it stays, I would like to see it turned into a right turn only.
Okay.
But obviously, it may not, but. And then the only other one, I guess, I get the idea on the parking spaces in the front, because part of it is your old version was working when everybody wanted the parking pushed out to the front of the buildings, which, I never thought was a great idea anyways, but that's just the way it was. So your foundation and your previous footprint is built with the idea that the parking spaces would be out there anyways.
Correct.
So you are limited a little bit unless you don't use the foundation, which sort of defeats the purpose, because now you're adding cost and, or you're cutting down part of the building, which means you got to remove part of the foundation and lay different foundation. So I don't necessarily, again, because it does fit in I know, we'd like to see things change, but it also isn't out of character with what's there, and we've approved that same waiver many times because of just the way that lots are built or whatever. So I don't really have an issue with it. Obviously, the other members have mentioned there are other things still outstanding. Those we'll get more information on. We can address them more as we go forward. But that's it for me for now.
Is there potential to discuss just a couple of Beta's comments, because they are potential action items that would require some due diligence?
Sure. Which ones would you like to discuss?
So, one being discussion whether or not the planning board wants to see a traffic impact analysis.
I don't know about the other members, but I'm not sure. The change here doesn't seem significant enough
Yep.
to run through that to me, but I don't know what the other members feel.
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
I don't think we need it here.
Okay.
Likewise.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand why they're bringing it up, because they throw it out to us, but in this case, half this is already existing, so we're not really, it's not the drastic change that a completely new business or an empty lot coming into being would cause, so I think we have a general idea of what we're looking at.
Okay.
And 3 of the existing businesses are staying, they're just expanding, but I don't think that's anywhere near the same as
Right.
bringing in a high-volume business or anything like that, so.
Right.
Rose?
Yes. One item was about parking space depth. So because of our limitations with stormwater, one of the things we looked at is if we had a step-off curb for the sidewalk along this new building, do we still have enough cover to provide some sort of either detention or filtration or any stormwater system in general? So one of the things we ended up doing is proposing wheel stops because that half foot of grade change makes a significant impact on how our stormwater can operate. So one of the comments was that they felt proposing concrete wheel stops would reduce effective parking space to 16 and a half feet from required 18 and a half. I know they're designed so that, I know some cars sit lower, but they're designed so that the front or rear of a car would be overhanging said bumper. I just wanted to see what the opinion was. There are other options, maybe utilizing some sort of, utilizing some bollards instead. So that would be placed right at the end of the parking stall, and I just wanted to see what the opinion was of the board.
Mr. Chairman?
I don't have an issue with the curb stops, especially if it helps make the stormwater work.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fine.
Mr. Lazardi?
Likewise, it kind of looks like some of the space, the existing spaces in the kind of the front part nearest the building, it looks like they're relatively shallow as well. Is that?
I parked in one of those today, Mr. Lazard, and it was, I'm not sure what the length was, but I parked my pickup truck in there with no problem. And that's a handicap ramp actually going up along the front there.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't think I have any concerns with it.
Okay.
Mr. Duffy?
I don't have any problem, although I would prefer the wheel stops over the bollards. I mean, bollards where you need them in front of a gas main or whatever.
Yep.
But, I mean,
They're not exactly sightly. Yeah.
more people are going to just ruin their front plate on the bollards and just trying to do a regular parking job, so I'm okay with the bollards.
Mr. Vitale?
I'm going to withhold my decision until I find out a little more from DPW as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate
I don't
that.
have any issue with it, so. Was there any others?
I think there was one more. I'm just trying to find it. So back in the late 80s, there were two abutting properties. So one was at 818 Main Street and the other was 869 Main Street. They had some petroleum and oil products on their properties. So the one at 869 Main Street, across the street, had some fuel or oil leak into the ground. They had underground storage tanks and had a safety failure. So there is a cleanup on file with the state. Like I said, this was around, I believe the report's in 91. I printed it off today. That was one of their comments. Yeah, so the report is dated December 13th, 1990, and this is for 880 Main Street, so that would have been the old Shake Shack that was kind of part of that property. So one of the comments was that we should take a look at whether or not the board feels an environmental professional should confirm whether there's any contamination in the groundwater. This is over 30 years ago, and they had done their remediation as required by the state. So we feel that it's not something that should be put as a burden on the property owner, but I wanted to put that out there to the board for discussion.
I mean, to me, I feel like that's somebody else's purview. If they think that there's a concern to have that checked.
I can certainly bring that to the health director and the DPW director's attention. Could you provide the reference which beta comment it is?
Yes, so it's Mass DEP reportable releases, so it's SW15,
SW15, thank you.
and it's on page 6.
Okay. Yep, if the board would like, I can bring that to both directors' attention, and if you
Yeah.
want to forward me the report that you had.
Yeah, absolutely. I did, like I said, I did a little bit of research this afternoon, just because it was a concern. I wanted to make sure it wasn't something that had occurred on our property, but it was not. Like I said, it was on abutting properties. There was the old trucking company that had some fueling, and then a gas station across the street as well, so.
All right, so that's it for those, right?
I believe so, yeah.
All right, so with that, I'll open up the audience. Anyone in the audience with any questions, comments, or concerns? Going once, twice, bring it back to the board. Where's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to make a motion to continue to our June 17th meeting.
We have 7:05.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I may, and Ms. Souza, 2 weeks for you to turn around revisions and then get them to beta and then get them back might be
That would probably,
tight for both parties, so
Yeah.
might I suggest pushing it out to the July 15th meeting?
that would probably be best, yes.
If that's what you need, that's okay with me.
We have 7:05.
7:05,
So 7:05.
What's the date?
July 15th.
All right. I'd like
So we
to
have a
withdraw my previous motion, and now I'd like to make a motion to continue the 792 Main Street until the July meeting at 7:05.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll see you at the July meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to agenda item F, 2131 Main Street, modification to site plan special permit. Have a motion to waive the public reading?
So moved.
Motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Once you guys are settled, just give your names for the record. The floor is yours.
Chris Duggan, 2130 Main Street.
Mira Cousins, Civil Design Consultants. So we're here requesting a site plan special permit modification to the plan that was approved by this board in August 2019 for the mixed-use development. So this project consisted of 3 residential buildings totaling 15 units and a commercial building facing Main Street. Buildings 1 and 3 are nearly complete, and Building 2 and the commercial building is still under construction. So the reason why we're here is because the applicant is proposing minor changes to the plan that will result in approximately 1,000 square feet of additional impervious area that triggers the need to file a special permit modification under section 3.6.6 for an increase in impervious area over 250 square feet. So the increase comes from the additional 6-by-5-foot fire alarm control panel room and associated walkway added to the 3 residential buildings, and that was requested by the fire department. And the applicant is requesting to eliminate the landscaped islands between each unit due to the concern that it may get damaged during snow removal operations. The other 2 modifications that were made to the plans were the decks and patios behind each residential unit. So the patios and decks shown on the 2019 approved architectural and civil plans were not consistent with each other. So we updated the deck and patio layout on our civil plan set to match the approved architectural plans. And lastly, the landscape plan was revised due to conflicts with trees located on top of utility lines. We received a review letter from engineering on Friday, and they didn't have any additional comments. So with that, happy to take any questions.
All right, start with Mr. Fattalia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So are the proposed decks and patios in the approved plans or not?
So they were on the 2019 approved architectural plans, but it was inconsistent with the civil plans that were approved in 2019 that were slightly different. So now, the revised plans that we submitted recently, they're consistent with the architectural plans.
Okay. So they are in the new plans?
Correct.
Okay, all right. It's nice to see that the increase in the impervious surfaces, the system can handle it.
Correct.
So that was done. Good.
Correct. We
Right, so,
submitted an updated drainage report to show that.
Yeah. And I have no problem with the trees being relocated, you know, with the utility lines. That happens on site, but you hopefully try to avoid that. But I know there's been a turnover on the property owners and so forth and back and forth. So with that, I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Lazardi.
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Champa.
Just one question, the removal of the islands for the snow plowing or snow removal, could you just give me a little detail on that? Only because there's plenty of places that do have the islands and they seem to do okay, so.
Over the years, me doing snow plowing, I've always noticed those are always in the way. People either getting out of their car, stepping onto a curb, trying to get out of their vehicle when they're right next to their curb, and also trying to just, back drag snow away from them. The snow can end up piling up on top of those islands and decreasing the size of their spot. Now you can actually go in there and actually, with a snowplow, take all the snow away from that and remove it and get it away from the buildings and put it over the snow storage area.
Either you as the property owner or the HOA is going to handle the snow removal?
Correct.
It's not individual people going out and shoveling their parking space?
No, it'll be handled by a subcontractor or us, probably the first year.
Okay, that's all. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Duffy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I took a walk through the project today. It's coming along great. And I definitely think that the cluster of curbing that would have been in place in there, it creates more problems than it prevents. It doesn't redirect any water. It's probably more of a trip hazard. So I have no problem at all eliminating the curbing in between the units. Obviously, the fire department bump out there is just such a minor modification, and it's a good one. So I have no problem with that. Like Mr. Fattalia said, you're like the third guy in the door there, and, you may have had a set of as-built, but nobody seems to have done the landscape overlay at the appropriate time. So, you can't take a hole where you have underground utilities. And we appreciate you checking on that rather than creating more problems. So how many trees are we talking roughly? Are you relocating them or are you just eliminating them altogether?
Just relocating them.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm good with I'm good with it all. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any real change, any problems with it. The only thing I make the note is that we still have the ability to go out and look at the landscaping. If it turns out something needs to be done because it really did change how it looks or whatever, and it can be done, then we may ask for it to be done. But, for what it looks like 2D on the paper, it seems fine. But, once it's in real life, so we'll retain that right. But otherwise, I have no other issues. Anyone in the audience with any questions, comments, or concerns, you can go up, you just give your name and your address, and then the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Sally DeChara. I reside at 27 DeCarolis Drive. I'm a direct abutter behind that last building. I need to discuss a little forefront going how this transpired. I know these are not the original project people of this property, but we came to every single one of these meetings, and I thought it was 2019 into early 2020, but I may have my math off a little there. We came to every one of these meetings, my neighbors and I, for months. We got a letter in the mail that it was declined. It wasn't approved for many reasons. Perfect. We all got that letter. Fast forward several months later, we're in our backyard and we see people out there and we don't know what's going on. We went over and they said, oh, this project got approved. They went back in front of the board. Well, supposedly me and my neighbors got some letter which we never got in the mail. So I stand here today. We have no idea what's going on with this project. We have no idea about landscaping. Never mind the bulldozers came in and bulldoze our trees and everything we had. We have very little trees left on where we abut this property. So we're standing here today saying, what is going on and who's going to help us as direct neighbors and taxpayers of the town of Tewksbury?
Okay, so for most of what you said, any of the files involved in the project, you can get at the Community Development Office, so you'd be able to get whatever you're looking for in terms of approved plans or anything like that. For tonight's hearing, we're only talking about the modifications that they
Okay,
brought in.
all right.
So we're not reopening the hearing itself for
All right.
everything. We're just addressing the things that are being brought forward that they're asking to change.
Perfect. So
And
what
as
is
far as
changing with the
whether or not
trees?
you did or didn't get
Yeah.
notices, the notices are done through the offices. They've never not been done, so I don't know anything about that, but we're not going to litigate it here. Okay?
All right, so regarding landscaping and trees, so where are these trees? Are they the few trees we have left?
I can give you the copy I have showing where landscaping
Yeah, we would
is,
love
but
to, I would
the
love
rest
to
of
have
the
a copy
information-
of, I'd love to have a copy of something. Thank
So
you.
that would reflect the approved but now modified movement of some of the trees because power lines or other utilities required their movement, which is what we discussed this evening.
Thank you.
Yep, you're on. Same thing, name and address if you wouldn't mind, and then the floor is yours.
Yes, my name is Liz Campbell. I live at 30 DeCarolis Drive, directly in my backyard also. I bought the property and the woods behind me, and I moved in, and there was this whole construction project. So it's a little frustrating. But my comment tonight is their proposed walkway, are they coming more onto our property?
No,
Is it going to?
Proposed walkway, or they're removing, I'm not sure which would you,
I think she's talking about the walk we're going to have to go to the fire sprinkler room.
I'm sorry.
Which is actually on that 6-unit building, it's on the right-hand side of the building. So that walkway, the door of that sprinkler room is going to be facing the Main Street side, so no one would be walking
So
towards your property.
nothing will be there? Okay, so when the construction started, almost all the trees were taken down. This site is right in our backyard. So I would like to know what is going to be done to separate these properties and give us some of our privacy back, because these people are right in our backyard. And something needs to be done. A fence and trees, both would be nice, but there needs to be something done to separate this. They're literally right there. And the people that are buying from you, I'm sure are going to have the same issue, because we're right on top of them. So is there anything in the plans to do something like that?
The existing and now modified landscaping is what was just handed out. You can give them my copy if you want. Here's mine, yeah.
I can give you my copy.
But does that include landscaping in the back that abuts our property?
That includes whatever landscaping was approved and is now being modified tonight to move those that are affected by utilities.
So we don't have any protection?
I'm not saying whether you do or you don't. I don't recall
Thank
what
you.
the landscaping was when we discussed it back when we approved it. I couldn't speak intelligently about that. It's what you see on there as modified with tonight's discussion about moving things for utility reasons. So that would have been addressed when the actual hearing was done. I couldn't tell you, I don't know if anybody else up here can remember.
So can I ask you directly, are you doing something or not?
There's no plantings really going in the back of that building. All the trees that we were moving were in the front of that building forward. They were where light poles were going to be or transformers. And we're just basically taking those trees and relocating them to other parcels in the property to try and.
So you're not doing anything
Yeah.
that, where it separates our property? You can't do a fence or plant some more trees or anything?
I'm just a general contractor. I'm not the owner. I mean, that's something that I can.
The neighbors are not happy, and he should know that,
Okay.
because you're in our backyard.
All right, so we can't have side
Okay.
stuff going,
Well,
because you can't
that-
pick it up on the microphone.
We would all like to see something done, and I think the people that purchase those properties would also like to see something done.
So, I mean, my best suggestion, again, because this isn't for here at this point, is that would be a discussion between the adjacent property owners and/or at some point in for the HOA that would be running that property. Does that make sense?
Yes. I thought that I would be able to speak to the property owner tonight.
So I can certainly meet you
guess.
guys outside, we can exchange phone numbers, I can come meet you guys at your houses, and we can.
Okay,
See
that
if
would
there's
be
something.
great. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, as a part of, if the board does intend to approve these particular requested modifications this evening, you can also add a contingency that following discussions between the property owner and the abutters at DeCarolus Drive, if they reach an agreement to put in fencing or additional landscaping or both, that this board authorizes that change, and that can be something that can be captured on the as-built if that's amenable to everyone.
That's fine. Nobody has an issue with that. Okay. All right, anyone else in the audience with any questions, comments, or concerns?
When they
You want to just pull the microphone down and then name and address, please?
Diane Bellavia, 33 DeCarlos Drive. When they started this project, they promised us we'd have two rows of trees to separate us and all that. And for some reason, everything got changed, and all we have, besides all the noise every day of the week, all we have is nothing but buildings staring at us. I mean, I walk and the people work and slam the doors because they don't even want me to see what they're doing. I mean, I walk every day and they're right on top of us. So why would we believe that they do anything now? They lied earlier.
Like I said, all I can tell you is the landscaping is as it appears on the handouts that we gave out. If we have another one, I'm sure we can give another one out to you as well. Like I said, those are the landscaping as approved with the changes for tonight. I don't know what else, that was what was part of the approved decision. I don't know.
Well, who changed it from originally being declined to all of a sudden it got approved and
That part,
started
I'm not sure what
bulldozing?
anyone's talking about. So any hearing that we have is noticed, publicized, and held in accordance with the rules that we're required to follow. So I don't know what you mean by that, or what you did or didn't get in the mail. I have no idea. All of our hearings are done the same way. They're all publicized the same way in the paper. The notices go out. They come out from the office. There's never been anything from the office to give me any reason to think that anything that was supposed to go out to abutters didn't go out in accordance with the rules. So,
Because the original letter said it was declined. And then
I
the
don't know what that.
bulldozing
Like I said,
started.
I don't know what that is that you're talking about, or what letter you're talking about. I'm just saying that the hearing in which this was approved was done in accordance with the rules that we have to follow to do so.
I'd love to see them build behind your backyard and see you like people staring in your windows.
We can do the,
You know?
the back and forth, but all I can tell you is that the committee does the hearings the way we're required to do them. The notices go out the way they're required to go out. Anyone else with any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, return to the board. What is the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I have a motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. As to the modification to the site plan special permit, do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the modifications to the previously approved site plan special permit.
With the proviso.
With the two conditions, one, that the board reserves the right to review the landscaping and require additional plantings as necessary, and the condition that if the ownership of the project comes to an agreement with the folks in the rear, the abutters in DeCarolus Drive, to add additional fencing or trees, that those things may be added per the planning board and will be captured on the as-built.
The only thing would be that the fence is within,
So fences, if they're not on a corner lot, can go up to the property line, and the maximum height is 7 feet.
yeah, so as long as they're in compliance with that, like, some 15-foot fence suddenly comes out of nowhere.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so we have the motion made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. That moves us to agenda item G, 1563 Andover Street. The applicant has requested that we be continued, or they be continued to our June 17th meeting at 7 PM. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion made. We have a second. Motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. That brings us to agenda item H, 402 Main Street. The applicant has requested to withdraw their petition without prejudice. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
A motion to
Withdraw.
grant the withdrawal request without prejudice. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimous.
We need to do the land disturbance permit as well, or not?
Oh, did I skip that? I'm sorry.
It's the whole application.
Okay, all right, whole application.
Yep.
All right, that brings us to agenda item correspondence, which we did not have any in the packet this week. That brings us to other business not known at the time of the posting of the agenda.
Just ask a quick question here. There may have been some people here on a withdrawal. Is there an opportunity for the public to weigh in? There's no.
No. Once the petitioner asks for it to be withdrawn, that's the only action we take.
Thank you for the clarification.
Because as far as that's concerned, it's dead as of that point unless they decide to bring it back. All right, so we're on to other business not known at the time of the posting of the agenda. Does anybody have any of that?
Just one question to Alex. Anything new from Burger King?
I have to follow up with them again. I haven't heard from them in the last couple of weeks.
Because I go by Home Depot all the time.
Yeah,
And
sure.
there's what do you call it, irrigation pipes exposed and all that stuff down there, so.
Yep, I'll
I
follow
mean, I
back up
know
with
it's a
the owner.
battle, and I appreciate what you do, but I just figured I would, because it's not resolved, not fixed, so. But
Yeah, remind them at some point, we're going to have it our way.
Dad joke and all?
Well said.
That reminds us, that moves us to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. We'll see you next time.